It's a pop-up. You can read the title. Sitting with Sandor right now. It's going to be a quick show, a fast-moving show. Get in and share it if you like it. And if you hate it, let us know in the comments. Thanks to Jay Beatty for the beats. Sandor, what up, my man? Thanks for coming in.
Hey, it's good to be back. So, not quite a year, but almost a year since I've been in the Jim Fannon hot seat.
Oh, in the studio, yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing Zoom calls.
Yeah.
But now we're back. We're in person. Feels good. We've been through a lot in the last year.
It's crazy times, man.
Oh, my goodness. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. All right, we're going to flip over to here.
My message to the world is I love Jim Fannon, and you should too.
What's not to love? So, brother, talk about a little bit about what's happened over the last year.
Where do we begin?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to talk about what's happened over the last 5 years because 5 years ago I was a lefty, and the left has gone mad.
Yes.
I mean, we're not able to have educated discussions or debates without, being called radical or white supremacist or whatever. So the ideological drift or gap or whatever has increased.
Yes.
As far as I can tell.
To the point now where medical passports are being enforced and proposed in various jurisdictions, including being advocated here by local media. And that's one of the things we'll talk about today. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not sure if it's a left or right thing anymore. Actually, I think that is as it always was, a false dichotomy and a bit of a trap. Those of us on the so-called right who've basically just been pushed out of the left. It's not really left or right anymore. It's kind of up or down. It's freedom or authoritarianism. And so if the left represents authoritarianism, then they can keep the title left. The right is claiming the title of freedom, and the so-called left is claiming the title of getting into your body and telling you what to do with it. Perhaps, ironically, considering the my body, my choice philosophy. So those are some of the things we'll talk about. I mean, 1 year ago yesterday, I was on my knee with a window scraper, peeling up stickers at a Shoppers Drug Mart. Created a viral video that was seen actually very, very well in the States. A lot of retweets and a lot of stuff happened. A lot of people were like, "Yeah, guy's my hero," and other people were like, "What an asshole!" And it was a big thing. And at the time, I mean, I didn't really see any. Protesting the so-called new normal, and my point at the time was to let others know that they weren't alone, and that it was time to act against it. People said, "Oh, you're afraid of stickers," and I was never afraid of stickers. I was afraid of the psychological war, which we are now 1 year into, which has gotten to the point of apartheid and segregation. It's gotten to the point of dehumanization, demonization, vilification. Of a so-called minority, a minority who, for whatever reason, will not or cannot take the experimental injection. And so that could represent as many as 25% of the population, according to the numbers. Niagara region says they're up to 60% fully vaccinated. And there's a strange philosophical failure from this influencer class who no longer defend minorities and minority views, but use the numerical inferiority, the being a minority, as a reason to dismiss us for being the minority. Yesterday, Dr. Hergy did a media conference, and at that conference, he said that there's a hardcore anti-vax component that he says is 8%. So if that's true, that is a sizable minority, actually. And I do believe that our values have been in defense of minority rights, including up to and including the rights of the individual. The ultimate minority is the singular person, and that's why you talk about the last 5 years. I'll borrow from Jordan Peterson in that. That Western civilization realized that the ultimate minority is the individual, and developed a philosophy around protecting the rights of the individual. And we are now at the precipice, the very edge, the turning point of everything in the war against the individual. There's my opening remarks. How you folks doing?
How you doing today?
Yeah, so a whole year of this. You've seen me go on this journey. So 1 year ago, I was scraping stickers. Then we got into protesting, which is more of a conventional form of
activism.
Yeah, it's more conventional to be a dissident protester than to be a sticker peeler. And so we were demonized and vilified in the media in the fall as just simply anti-maskers. And of course, the vaccine hadn't yet been introduced into the public, and that wasn't the argument being had at the time. Although those of us who were protesting were always more concerned about the direction of society that masks represented than necessarily the danger of the piece of cloth itself. And look at the direction of society we're in now. So remember last time I was here in the studio, I went through a story about a Port Colborne woman who made some comments about how she was chased out of a grocery store and posted it to the Hugs Over Masks group. And then Grant LaFleche saw it and said, "Miss, this has nothing to do with segregation. This has nothing to do with Jim Crow laws. You are really exaggerating." Well, look at us now. The very same media entities, Grant LaFleche, Niagara Dailies, are promoting apartheid through vaccine passports. She was right. Now, it wasn't necessarily about the mask. It was about the direction of society. And I wasn't right. I was right. It wasn't necessarily about the stickers. It was about the psychological war. That's what I said in the media when I was quoted, that this is a psychological war. And, we all know it. Now it's 1 year later, and a year ago I felt alone, and I knew I wasn't alone, but I took a leap of faith that I would discover that there were others like me. We don't need to take a leap of faith now. There is a huge contingent of people who are absolutely obsessed with this issue rightly. And the issue, of course, isn't just the vaccine itself. It's the mandating. It's the forcing the vaccine on the population. This is outrageous. Yeah.
I said in the show yesterday that a few months ago I said, I'll give the sheep, for lack of a better term, I know it's derogatory, but the people that haven't researched any of the masking or done their homework on what the death rate is, or I'll give them another year until I will no longer excuse them for not being able to look back in their personal experience over the last 2 years and realize that this has not affected their life in any capacity, hardly at all. Compare that to the lockdowns and to the overreaction to what we did, thinking it was a 4% mortality rate. Like, we based everything on 4%. It's not close to 4%.
Based on Chinese propaganda, which is proven in multiple reports, multiple exposés. But of course, that's a dangerous thing to say for some reason. I mean, just like it was dangerous to say there was a lab leak theory, you'd get wiped off of Facebook and you'd get your posts deleted up until they said, "Oh, maybe that's a reasonable theory," which touches upon one of the core problems we have in our society right now. So, I went through the protest phase, and then winter came, and so we all laid low and got extremely psychologically damaged by them canceling Christmas, and then in the media all the way through January, February, and March, it was like, look, winter is when people die of respiratory illnesses. in history. Like always, winter is when it's the worst. But they were like, oh my God, it's the worst of the worst. And it was like a lot of exaggerations, a lot of psychological manipulations. And then spring came around, and then we have, the February 13th story, which involves Alicia. We have Alicia then becomes the prominent activist that she was in April. And then you have the entire media class and political class calling for the arrests of peaceful protesters, which is what our spring was. So that was awful. It remains awful. Just quickly to go through the story, on April 10th, 1,500 people met at Alicia Herder's salon to protest lockdowns and the effect they have on small businesses. They marched from salon to salon, from Alicia's business to Dennis Costantini's business, and then back. And as I said, the media and local politicians had a meltdown over that. And Jim Bradley, for example, warned against future protests because you'll be arrested. So Alicia was charged. You were charged for speaking, Jim. And I was charged for literally just being there on April 10th. And at the time, of course, Doug Ford was announcing, they were wrapping plastic around items and saying that baby shoes were non-essential, this is non-essential, that's not essential. So the tyrannical overreach was demonstrating itself clearly in mid-April, and therefore the public was both primed from a long winter and from the current events of that moment to protest and to speak up. And then that week in mid-April, they announced that police would have the powers to pull you over and ask you if you could where you're headed, at which then the police services said, no, we're not going to do that. And of course, the public, not just in Niagara, but all around Ontario, tens of thousands of people were out in the streets protesting that particular issue, motivated by that issue. April 17th, there was a protest in Niagara Falls, the one that Maxime Bernier joined. And after that, Alicia and Cullen were charged with common nuisance. And they were told that they couldn't hold a megaphone, they couldn't distribute any promotional material for protesters, and
couldn't speak to each other.
And they couldn't speak to each other. I was not pleased with that turn of events and felt that I was just the natural guy to take up the mantle in terms of the issue. At the time, I wasn't even necessarily protesting lockdowns. I was literally protesting for the right to protest. And I became, as I said in your show that month, a canary in the coal mine, I think. Since there wasn't any protests since. I was arrested. So we had a protest on May 1st, and then we had a protest on May 8th. And on May 8th, I was physically arrested, incarcerated, and held 24 hours in jail, which, of course, we talked about prior on your show. And that's basically the sort of what spring was. And then after that, I think the public was, first of all, if you're not getting anywhere with protesting, why do it? And secondly, if you're going to be persecuted for it, why do it? So the public didn't necessarily, in Niagara, we don't really know where to protest. We don't know when. And everyone we would protest is in their little homes. They're not at the government buildings. So there's a whole lot of reasons that the group is scattered. And then that leads us into the summer phase. And the summer phase for this movement has been kind of a disaster. Not because of any, I don't say disaster, but I say there's a lot of bumps in the road that have really demoralized me as a person who speaks up on these issues, who's made me feel like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. So, some of the issues were just like the political infighting that happens in the movement and that sort of things. As well as the pre-Canada Day demoralization campaign that came after the discovery of Indigenous residential school burials. The entire attention.
Discovery.
So get a load of this. So in April, we have our movement waving the Canadian flag as if it means something, really relying on Canadian patriotism as the common unifying theme of the thing. April 10th, April 17th, May 1st, May 8th, Canadian flags. And then June, it's like, you should be ashamed for being Canadian. That's the message we got. So we had and then we had to justify ourselves. Like, hey, we're proud to be Canadian. No, you shouldn't be. And it's actually it was very derailing. It just sort of, it's like it was an attention suck. So, and then there's a couple of other things that came up, and maybe we can talk about them when we go through the comics. So I got to a point where I was a bit frazzled, or I didn't really know how to engage in these issues anymore. I should mention that when I was arrested, and probably most of our viewers know this, my Facebook was deleted. So, and it was deleted because I posted screenshots of articles where I criticized the articles, Grant LaFleche articles. Grant LaFleche himself went through those posts and flagged them as copyright, and so Facebook closed my account, and I lost 10 years of work because of Grant LaFleche. So I think it's very important to remember. And the psychological impact of that was, well, I built a house. I built the house, all my content, all my work, 10 years of stuff on Facebook. Why would I type a single letter into that comment box if they're just going to delete it at any point? So my investment totally changed with Facebook. Is like, I'm not going to just write huge ass. I mean, I do now. It's been like 3 months and I've kind of recovered and I have a new profile and I've built up the audience back. But at the time, I just wanted to stop being a keyboard warrior, and I guess I became more of the artist. So I'm a graphic designer. I went to school for journalism. I was a graphic designer for years. If I wasn't so scattered by the psychological war we're in, I'd be a video game developer. So I'm a creative person. So I kind of wanted to get back in touch with my roots. So I started making political cartoons in order to respond and hit back at these at the influencers who've been manipulating us over the last year. And of course, there's really none other than, in terms of me being I mean, we've talked about it on your show multiple times. The media bias and the bullying of Grant LaFleche is legendary. And even a schmuck like me can receive or engage in other people's agreeing with it that this guy's a schmuck. There's a problem with the journalism that comes out of LaFleche in particular. And I call him Niagara's best journalist. Do we have this image on screen? Yep. So what do we have here?
We're up right now with the. This is the first one.
This is the first one, and it really it almost encapsulates a lot of the themes we're dealing with up till this day. I mean, so we had like Senzik, and we had LaFleche, and we had pretty much all of the influencer class. Hashtag Team AstraZeneca or AstraZeneca Club or something like, and so being in the club is some sort of strange. I don't know how to put it. In society, you're in trouble when the ruling class deem themselves to be clean and everyone else who doesn't conform to be the dirty. This is a big problem. And so I represented it here in the most exaggerated and dramatic sense as I could, is that in order to be in the club, they're willing to invite the possibility of death into their lives. And this is a first level. This is my first drawing with my tablet. I have a drawing tablet, XP pen drawing tablet. It's like a monitor that you can draw on. So I'm a Photoshop wizard and I can draw. So there we go.
I love the tattoo.
Yeah, he's got a snake tattoo for some reason, but that's cool.
All right, so let's cycle through these. And
let's take a look through some of my comics.
Of a narrative and a little editorial.
So I mean, the narrative has already changed.
Dr. Feargy.
Yeah, the narrative has already changed since this artwork was created. Here, Hergy's representing the choice of mask or vax, But no longer does that choice exist according to the latest news. Now it's vax and continue to mask. You could actually just switch out those images in his hands with water bottles, because he claimed that the two different types of vaccines were interchangeable technology, just like two different brands of water. Unfortunately, there are some countries that don't accept double vaccinated people as double vaccinated if they've mixed and matched. And so even that phrase, mix and match, I found heard you use this phrase, hey, everyone, you can mix and match your vaccines. I'm like, what are they, flavors of ice cream? Like
hockey cards,
right?
Just make it fun, a little mix and
match.
And now they're saying if you have
what is it, a dress and a pair of shoes?
No, they say if you have an AstraZeneca and a Pfizer booster, you're not vaccinated.
According to some countries, that's right. CDC, I think, said that it doesn't count as fully vaccinated.
And the CDC, why do we believe these people? Because they've been wrong on everything, and now they've turned around and said that the reason for the flip-flop on the mask mandates is because vaccinated people are infecting other vaccinated people. That's their justification for the mask mandate. Can you believe this?
Well, they can still carry the virus, according to what they're saying, and then give it to like your little 10-year-old apparently. So now they're coming after you. They're coming after the kids. Of course, they're always coming after the kids. They have a very specific program in this case, which we're going to touch upon because, in the spring summer, they had that pop-up vaccine clinic in Toronto. So we'll jump through the next image, and I think we'll get there.
Joan Sharp is on Facebook. Just said, please help to stop the pop-up clinic tomorrow at 9259 Riker Community
Joan,
House.
you can't stop anything.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What do you mean stop?
Beat the heat with Dr. Fiergy.
So this is when I really, really realized the power of transformative satire. So in the February 13th story, Grand LaFleche reported that on Facebook, somebody had commented on a Dr. Hergy protest poster, let's put his head on a stick. And they used that to claim that Hergy was threatened with beheading. And if you recall, I'm sure you might, Doug Ford, Justin Trudeau, everyone retweeted this story as, oh my God, threats against a public health official. Unacceptable. Turns out the story was pretty much fake news. And I dug into it through the February 13th story. On Twitter, hashtag #RetractFeb13, hashtag Niagara's Best Journalist, hashtag Fire LaFleche. So this artwork was a way to put his head on a stick as a joke. So let's put his head on a stick. Well, now you can have it as an ice cream. And, beat the heat.
Fudged numbers.
They actually used that phrase, beat the heat, in promoting their pop-up clinic, their vaccination clinic. It's really hot out, but it's cool in our clinic. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, real caramel, fudged numbers.
The coolest acting medical officer of health.
Oh man, it looks tasty. It does look tasty. Can you see that in the corner?
Free magnets in every bite.
Oh man.
Flavor.
That's right.
Head on a stick.
This was a hit. People really were like, "Oh my goodness!"
PCR-sicle.
PCR-sicles. That's
right.
That
one.
Yeah. So that's a dense super satire, and it's really transformative energy. I think because you take the story, the February 13th story, where LaFleche, the media, and then all of the political influencers. Totally exaggerated this phrase, let's put his head on a stick.
Yeah, which was satire, which was tongue-in-cheek
in the first
place. Yeah, I was like, whoa, like, what do you know, like, let's, like, an overreaction type of thing in jest.
Absolutely.
And you tracked him down, too.
That's right.
And you spoke to him. So
that's right. Rick B, hashtag Rick B did nothing wrong.
Yeah, and he was just blown away that any of this had blown up to begin with, and I appreciate you doing that. And similarly, I'd like to track down the guy that flew the rebel flag off the boat in Port Dalhousie. I do have it somewhere, the name of the boat, but you know that guy was not. Like, come on, he's got a rebel flag.
What happened was someone put up a Confederate flag on their boat in a marina.
Oh no, the Twitter blew up because somebody took a picture of it and says this is not acceptable, white supremacist, blah blah blah, and the Port Dalhousie Yacht Club got. And
by the way, they didn't win the argument about whether or not it's acceptable. The guy took it off his boat, so his boat doesn't get damaged, so that vandals don't come. So I mean,
I'm getting a Confederate flag.
It's not about rational who's right, who's wrong. It's about intimidation and bullying, as per usual.
Next up,
yes, Niagara's.
I love how you got the raised eyebrow. What is it about the selfie that the guy cannot stop raising his eyebrow? It's not like that normally. Like, what up, yo?
Well, he's sussing you out. He's like, are you sure about that? Everyone loves a good raised eyebrow. And this is a phrase that LaFleche uses all the time on Twitter. Context is for kings.
And this is a Trek quote?
It's a new Star Trek Discovery quote. Like, he uses GIFs to close off his threads. Yeah. Like, from Star Trek Discovery, context is for kings. The guy miscontextualizes things all the time. All the time. His whole political manipulation is to miscontextualize things.
And not only that, he's corrupting young and coming uppers like Musa. Is that his name?
Musa Imran, who covered our May 1st protest. He
did a nice job, and I spoke to him. He was very nice. You always know who the media guys are at the protests
because they're wearing a mask.
Because they get the masks on. And the one guy that I walked, like, I'm not a protester, I'm not a marcher, but I became one this year. I marched once, and I spoke at a protest as an MC, and then spoke as an activist, I guess, the second time. But, the one guy was just being a complete dick with me. He wouldn't answer. I'm like, who are you with? None of your business. Like, I don't have to tell you anything. I'm like, oh, okay, dude. So then I started mocking him as we were walking. Every time I ran into him, I give him a hard time. But when I was standing beside Musa, I said, who are you with? He said, Niagara this week. I went, well, welcome to the game, obviously. And just made some small talk with him, but he was very friendly.
Yeah, nice guy.
And then when I read the account of what happened,
we were all shocked how fair it was.
Yeah, it was.
And then what
LaFleche did. Good
did,
article. Like, there was nothing out of context. There was no axe to grind. There was no narrative that was being promoted. And then Grant gets a hold of it.
Right.
Once a couple people went, hey, this is actually a decent job by a local media guy.
And
Grant goes, and then claimed everything was out of context, and next thing you know, we got a massive edit to the original article.
Yeah, they edited the article. I mean, LaFleche added, like, this doesn't include context, like the previous rally had said it's a satanic agenda. It's like, well, I organized this rally, so the previous rally isn't relevant. He tries to include his narrativization through what he thinks are like kind of these satanic agenda. So LaFleche is always taking hot takes on the toilet. And there was one hot take he took that inspired this particular artwork. But I don't remember what it is. Did I have a screenshot of there? No? There might be a hot take screenshot. No. That's all right. So, this was me just really starting to get into the style.
There was a caption in this, though. The king on his throne, right?
The king on his throne. And you know what? This post was flagged for bullying and harassment by none other than the king himself. And as a satirist and as an artist, that is one of the most satisfying things.
Amen to that.
Right?
Get canceled because you're...
And it shows his hypocrisy too, because
this started with Andy Gill back in the day. I learned this. You can't make fun of people publicly, even in good nature, without them getting pissed off. And then next thing you know, they're serving you with libel suits. Like Andy Gill tried to threatened to sue me through Chris Biddle, his attack dog lawyer at the time. But when I was at the station, when I was at 610,
right.
They made just phone calls, and basically it was because I was making fun of him because he pulled out of Pearl gloves, and then he pulled out of the election, and I just called him a quitter. I was just grinding on him.
Right.
And
well,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying with the hypocrisy here is so LaFleche is someone who goes out and criticizes people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if one of them tried to delete his material, let's say he goes out and criticizes a public figure, which you are, Grant, goes out and criticizes a public figure, and then he finds out, like, let's say, for example, he makes a post about Dave Bylsma, and then he finds out that Dave Bylsma flagged that post for harassment. Is that a legitimate action? No, it isn't. What a hypocrite. Right? It's not legitimate for this post to have been flagged for harassment. It's a criticism of a public figure. You're full of shit, Grant.
Sue me for that. Oh, you're all racist.
Yes.
Why can you not make Carrie Porter's mouth a little hotter in the cartoons, man? That's come on.
I mean,
I
spent an extra minute or two on that.
That does not do justice to her, the construction and the.
What's your deal with his mouth? With her mouth? Is it just because it's an ongoing joke at this point, or
no?
I mean, she has a remarkable.
I like her mouth.
Oh,
I think she's got a great mouth.
Sincere, it's your sincere
feelings.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm not mocking it.
Okay, just to be clear.
I think it's hot.
Just to be clear. Wow. Why not? Why can't you have those feelings?
Exactly. And I don't, like, the last time I was in her presence was at Warehouse. It was for the
right.
I was a judge in some drag queen show. Yeah. And
times have changed.
And we were at the bar at the back of the room. I can't remember who I was with at the time. Oh, one of the organizers was with ECT or something like that. I think it was an ECT thing or show suitcase theater. I don't know. Is it the same thing? But anyway, it was a blast. And we had a nice conversation at the bar. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything?
Well, I just don't know where, like, well, I don't know why you can't be civil and why you can't disagree with each other. And, you know, I mean, I have fun. I do comedy. I do political commentary on the regular. And it's, you know, I've only just recently been brought back to the local issues because some of them are important to me. But for local politics, I haven't paid attention. I haven't watched a council meeting in a long time, in years.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like many of these people that I was friendly with or can see now and have a beer with, hopefully, I don't know, but I just don't know where all of a sudden, like, I'm a fucking monster now.
Well, you are Jim, take the diaper off your face Fannon, and she is Carrie, wear a mask Porter.
So what, though?
Well, you also criticized her bestie.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think deserves a rebuke against Carrie for having how she reacted to that whole moment in
well, yeah, if it wasn't for Carrie, that thing, nobody would have seen that thing because it was on Rumble.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
BitChute, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was BitChute. I keep saying Rumble, but BitChute's even more an esoteric kind of like hard place to find, and that was in my that was a stopgap between my YouTube channels.
That's right. Jim Fannon did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, I thought, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Then I heard the whole context. The whole context is totally kosher. No problems. They took it out of context.
It's a bit. It's a
They
gag.
took it way out of context and then put it into the media. You have a full quote.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Christians, you dumb fucking cunt?
Yeah. No, why do you hate Christians so much? We built your society.
No. You explain it after.
No, that was it.
Really? Yeah, I guess you got to burn into your memory.
Why do you hate Christians so much? Either we or they built your society.
Yeah.
You dumb fucking cunt. Like, it's like
my point is they only ever say the last expression.
They only just say the one word, even if you put
right.
You dumb fucking
it's
cunt. It sounds
totally
different.
Nuts. Well, the reason I made this artwork is a specific context, and I'd like to touch upon it. So on the April 10th protest from Alicia's, Carrie went there and followed along, and then made a series of posts and including videos accusing the movement of being enmeshed with white supremacy.
QAnon.
Now, we should talk about this for a second because I think you had Dennis on your show.
Dennis is coming on Friday.
Dennis was on your show and he's coming back, Dennis Constantini.
Yeah, Friday.
The former owner of
Friday, 3 p.m.
Evolution Hair Salon was scandalized to the point of being, in his view, run out of town.
Yeah.
Carrie Porter scandalized the protesters, which she directly, not indirectly, directly called Dennis Constantini enmeshed with white supremacy. He's the face of that protest. She said that protest is racist. Her little gaggle and gang of thugs are snobby
keyboard
little
warriors.
Twitter keyboard warriors took that seriously and allowed him to be castigated as a racist. And so look at the reaction on this post. How many likes does it have?
24 reactions, 8 comments, 4 shares, seen by 126.
I'm sure it's seen by a lot more than that. Yeah, 24 reactions on a page with 150 people. They all already know what we're talking about. I don't have to explain it. I don't have to contextualize it. All these people who were part of that protest were absolutely livid. Here's a hashtag for you to look up, folks. Hashtag women against Carrie Porter. I have screenshots of dozens or a dozen women in response to the issue we're talking about when she said, oh, you're enmeshed with white supremacy. And she went off about Rebel News and so on and so forth.
Gavin McInnes. Here's the deal.
Oh, yeah, and she dunked on Gavin as if Gavin McInnes is a terrorist.
Don't do Gavin McInnes dirty, man.
Oh, I can't say this on Facebook. We can't talk about the Proud Boys on Facebook. We'll get censored.
Exactly. But and she was so wrong with her information because she said when he was with Rebel News, he wrote an article that said 10 things I hate about the Jews.
Which was
she made a video about that.
Yeah.
And the reality is Gavin McInnes was with Ezra Levant, a devout Jew, in Israel, speaking to a group of businessmen at a luncheon. Gavin broke out the bit. It's actually called 10 Things I Hate About the Motherfucking Jews. That's the bit's name. And it's videotaped, and it killed. They loved it. Now, Ezra hasn't released that thing. No one's ever seen it.
Really?
There's just the rumor of it being done.
I see.
And the urban legend that it was a hate speech when it was to a group of Jews in Israel.
Well,
and she couldn't have been more wrong, nor does she even have the mental complexity or interest to check it out.
No, checking it out is not the thing.
You just throw out the white supremacist thing.
Is she actual NDP or is she just like NDP adjacent? Because
I think she's a dipper for sure, yeah.
Right. And so she's about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of whatever the big guys say. Because she's well-read, she's ideologically committed, and so when the NDP type people are going to say something, she'll say it first. So she'll go off about the Proud Boys, and then they'll go into the legislation and say that they're a terrorist group. So it's important to pay attention to the grassroots of these movements.
Indeed.
That's why someone like me was aware of social justice warriors and safe space and all that stuff, because it's a university town in St. Catharines. It's a hipster town, and I used to live there and be part of it, and I see it firsthand. Let's see what else is going on here.
Rob Primo says he's livid.
I am beyond angry.
Oh, man.
All right, what we got next?
I mean, I'm so angry that I'm no longer able to carry it. I can't carry the anger. I can't express the anger. I can't feel the anger. I'm like transcendental. It's like I ride the anxiety that I feel every day. So here's the thing. People are not very careful with their self-presentation, and so they're just sloppy. They're just all over the place, and they don't know how to spell. And I would just like to encourage people. Maybe I'm just an autistic, obsessive-compulsive person who checks over everything I write and makes sure it's spelled correctly.
I don't
and other
like
people
spelling
are not.
mistakes going out, and I don't edit posts. Very seldom. If it's a main post, but I don't even edit my spelling mistakes and comments. It's just you have those friends that edit every single comment multiple times. Once it's out there, it's out there. I don't care.
I'm an editor. I do a lot of edits.
I delete nothing.
So my message to the public is check your spelling, especially if you're calling someone an idiot. You're an idiot. No. Look at this phrase, enough is enough. That's what I said when I was in Shoppers Drug Mart peeling up stickers. And now it's like in Alberta, there's a protest for lockdowns and restrictions, and they're using the phrase enough is enough. Like really anyone can use the phrase enough is enough and has been used by everyone at all times. Ah! Dave Biles.
Don't make this weird, Dave.
That really is the perfect tagline.
Wow. You, once again. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I have this badly cropped.
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking at here the circle jerk that is Niagara Region politics, and how Dave Bilsma, I think both are.
Yeah,
You'll go with Bilsma.
We'll
accept
say Bilsma, but I think the Dutch correct pronunciation is Bilsma. So
Well, I'm Shandor, not Sandor.
Yeah.
He doesn't exactly fit in with the milieu of the political circle jerk that happens there. This you scroll up on the comments. This is based on a specific moment. September of 2020, Niagara Region joined the Inclusive Municipalities, something or other. You scroll up, add more comments. There you go. Yeah, if you click that. So that's the true moment. And that was them signing the
Bilsma, the only one without a mask.
And he was the only one without a mask. And people use this image as if this or as if that. Clearly, he's the one who stands out in that regard. And there's a lot of other things. Hashtag. This is a hashtag for you folks. Mayor Bilsma did nothing wrong. That's a hashtag I worked on a lot in January. A lot of my Facebook content was trashed, but if you go on Twitter, there's a lot of content there for that. I've been saying that Mayor Bilsma has been doing nothing wrong since he said all lives matter on the radio. All lives matter is the superior moral position. Just full stop. You Marxists, revolutionaries who are using black people as tokens to exact your revolution are morally inferior. So all lives matter is... So, you remember, we had the dog pile, the goose pile. Walter Sandzik said that's a dog whistle to white supremacy. No, it isn't. So on and so forth. So that's, if you hit escape, now you'll see the artwork again. And that all those issues sort of wrap up into this artwork where... Oh, no, that's the full screen. Where and you can see in his right hand, he's holding the cross, and they're holding each other's cocks.
Shit.
Okay. Yeah. I laughed. I worked. This took about 10 to 15 hours of drawing. I was laughing the entire time. This is devastatingly hilarious, and I know each one of these little fellas saw this artwork because nobody could have resisted being like, "Oh my god, they did this." The greatest thing about this artwork is that somebody sends it to them. Okay? And I get to absolve Dave.
Who's on the far right?
That's just Diodati.
Oh.
I get to absolve Dave of... He's not the morally inferior entity here. They're all playing with each other's dicks. And he's got his hand on the cross, on God. So, like... Talk about... This is narrative
perfect.
Energy transformation. People need to share this stuff and use this stuff and download this stuff and post it in the comments.
The coloring version.
Yeah, team players play ball, Dave.
Just in case.
Then with the caption, Dave Bilsma ruined the coloring book too. Love it. Because they're like, oh, you ruined the photo op. Oh, Dave, don't make this weird. Like, Dave Bilsma isn't the weirdo. You communist socialists are the weirdos. I mean, and most of these mayors aren't actually communist or socialist. They're just weak-spined knee benders.
I'm into that.
Senzik's definitely like a socialist, though.
Yeah, I think he's a what's the amphibian that changes its spots, colors, camouflages itself?
No, you're suggesting he's a chameleon?
Yeah. He fits whatever the narrative of the day is, and he doesn't rock the boat, and he very rarely takes a strong, independent stand. He tests the water, he checks the wind, and he goes with what the way the wind's blowing. Whatever he thinks, whatever wave he can ride, that's going to be his.
Well, and that wind is generated by high-powered fans called the mainstream media. So it's not just the wind, it's the engineered wind. He goes with the engineered wind and then is lauded as a leader. Obviously, St. Catharines had mask mandates before Niagara Region did. Because St. Catharines did it, Niagara Region used that as a precedent. Oh, they're doing it. That means we can do it. St. Catherine's expanded their mask mandate to include lobbies and elevators. Oh, let's do that. So Senzik and St. Catherine's have 7 votes at Niagara Region. Niagara Falls and Diodati have 4 votes, and then everyone else has 2. Maybe Welland is 3. That means that the St. Catherine's is the power block in the Niagara Region political environment.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
That's right. I'll revisit
Wow.
Carrie Porter for this one.
Hey now.
I mean, I don't entirely loathe Carrie Porter. I like a lot of the things that Carrie Porter talks about on social media and in her political. I love bike lanes. Bike lanes are great. Give me bike lanes. Give me water
Walking
supplies.
communities.
Give me irrigation. She's got a lot of good things to say, but then she's also ideologically possessed and totally tarnishes any of the support or interest I might have had in the good things she has by being absolutely condescending. So here she is about to put her mask back on and realizing how good of a person she is. And it's that condescension and sanctimony which is just absolutely why she's famous, why I talk about her. I mean, I wouldn't ever think twice about her if she wasn't in our lives telling us what to do with them and saying she's a better person for it. Carrie. Yeah, this was the week that they were having free ice cream at Toronto City Hall for children vaccinations, which was a moment that was very aggravating to the people who are opposed to this stuff. There's a lot of ethical questions to be raised there, and I tried to encapsulate it by the kid wanting a second dose right away because his ice cream melted. So. A little bit dark, actually, if you think about it. But speaking of dark, there it is. So there's Niagara's best journalist receiving his vaccination from a puppet who's being puppeted by the WEF and the CCP. Yeah, Klaus Schwab is a real person. He has very outrageous things to say. Their whole, the WEF's agenda, the Agenda 2030, it's real. It's all real. And Grant, it says here, was reassured to know that the system still works. So that's my message here is this is the system that he's reassured to know it works. And of course, he's on his phone while he's doing it. And this artwork was a level up for me in terms of artistic capability. I had never really quite drawn a painting quite like this on my tablet, and even the black and white version is also, which is there in the comments, is also striking. And there it is. I mean, this is again, just, they say a picture tells 1,000 words. So that's what this artwork is for, is to encapsulate certain messages in inherent visual imagery.
The coloring book is really shaping up.
There's Klaus Schwab. See, I mentioned him right away. So there's Schwab. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. So, the debunkers, the people who call protesters conspiracy theorists, never actually get to the heart of the matter, never actually acknowledge what's really being argued. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, which represents corporations and billionaires, have an agenda, have a program, have the money, and they're exacting their money. They're exacting their agenda. But here I belittle Schwab. You'll have nothing and you'll be happy. You won't even have your own body. You don't even have your bodily autonomy. You don't even have your own body. So there's the future for you, folks. Your head floating in a jar. And even the top of the system loses their autonomy. Even Schwab, the figurehead of it, isn't really free. Ah, yes.
Ah, my boy. I didn't know my boy was so well put together, man.
Isn't he, though?
Damn.
Damn, and, he works on it.
Yeah.
We got to work on it to get it.
Mhm.
Ooh,
Well,
lordy.
I get it naturally. But
According to my bail conditions, I cannot communicate directly or indirectly with Cullen McDonald.
Colin McDonald, everyone.
So,
Dude,
but
what's
listen,
going on with
I'm
the
gonna tell everyone how I felt about it. When the Cullen and Alicia and others put up magnet videos of them with coins on their chests, that was very disturbing. It was disturbing because I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear that shit from these people. We didn't really even win the argument about masks, which is like legitimate science that there's lots of studies. Now you're making videos of coins on your chest? Dear God. Brother, I went to jail standing up for your rights, and then you made a video that you're magnetic. I can't tell you how demoralizing this was for me, because...
Doesn't it make you curious as to what it is? Is it just
Does
natural?
it make me curious?
Yeah, like...
You know about the Overton window.
Yeah.
You know what that is.
Yeah.
Do you think magnets sticking to your chest are part of the public's Overton window right now?
Is that using the argument what I use with a friend of mine that every time he goes, I mean, he's anti-vaccine. So I said to him, listen, there's many good, solid, well-researched reasons to be against the vaccine, whether it's the low fatality rate or that maybe it's a religious objection to it or just I'll take my chances. Anytime you go Lucifer and the mark of the beast,
right,
you blow all those arguments out. There's so many good arguments to use.
Right.
As soon as you go 666 number of the beast, then you're right. Everyone just laughs at you.
Even though it's true. Even though if you look up the patent number, it is 2020-060606. That is true. Doesn't necessarily mean it's persuasive.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that this moment was counter persuasive. And it gave ammo to our opponents who just simply have to say, they think they're magnetic. And nobody's going to actually entertain that conversation. I'm on the inside of this movement. I don't want to have this conversation. Do you think people outside of this movement want to have this conversation about whether or not you're magnetic? Anyway, I don't want to go on too much about it. I love the guy. I respect him. But this moment hurt me, and I wanted to reflect that artistically. And so I tried to do it with a little bit of love. You know, he looks good. He's well stacked. Babe magnet, shocked to learn he's a literal magnet. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm saying it wasn't a great moment of persuasion as the leader of a protest movement. That was my point of view. I guess we can move on from it. It makes me a little nervous because I don't want to dunk on the guy. I love the guy.
I do too.
Now here's a guy I do want to dunk on.
Wrap.
This was a great moment. Remember when Justin Trudeau said to G8 reporters, he said, we are doing things, it's G7 now, right? We're doing things here at the G7 that will last into the future long after the newspapers you reported are wrapped in fish. And I'm like, oh, that's great. So I took the February 13th story headline, lockdown protesters threaten chief medical of health, and I wrapped it in fish. And I made one of my favorite paintings. I just love this artwork. I just think I want to get this printed. I think it'd be nice as a plaque. I'm going to send it to Alicia. You know, I think that's just a nice little piece of bathroom artwork just to remember it forever. Mm-hmm. And we are cultural producers now. And when you transcend just being a commentator into being a cultural producer, you take all of the history that led up to the creation of that artwork and you turn it into something. Like, I took all the energy out of that narrative and I turned it back around on them. I wonder if their behavior is changing because of the way we engage them back. So the last time I was on the show with you was to talk about when Biddle and the others dunked on Jeff. I haven't seen them act like that since. Because guess what? I'm a propaganda master. There's no one who can do graphic design or artwork like I can. And to put them in my scope, artistically speaking, and take the headshot. I did it day after day in June and July. They don't fuck with us in the same way. Bring it on, because I will continue to take artistic headshots on you people. And so it became the logo. Welcome to WTFN2. Of course, WTFN2 exists because my Facebook account was deleted. And so I started WTFN2. I couldn't even access WTF Niagara at the time. So I just started a new version of it. But once we regained access to WTF, thanks to you, you had, for some reason, been given admin capabilities. You brought me on board with WTF Niagara. And from that moment, I was able to switch WTFN2 to be exclusively comics. So I've produced maybe 35 comics in the last 2 months. And so that's what we're going through here. This is actually a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, so some of these we can't really get too much into. This is when they unveiled the pride flag.
Who's in bed?
What's that?
Scene 1. Who's in bed?
Who's in bed?
Yeah.
In scene 1? Well, that's just a couple of guys.
No one specific.
There's no one specific. No, that's the cop and his lover.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they get woken up in the middle of the night, called down to the station, and yeah. And so this was like really fun to produce. A totally new artistic. And I got to do the birth giver of mercy joke because everyone was like, that was the meme of that week, which was like, you can't say mother, you have to say birth giver. And so, I mean, I don't condone the vandalism, but I understand. Well, no, my point was I don't condone the vandalism, but there was the overreaction or just the reaction. Oh my God, no! Who could have ever predicted that there'd be burnouts on the prize sidewalk?
This is obviously a message from a homophobic person. No, it's just like you're going to paint stuff on the street. It doesn't matter what was on the street. Somebody's going to want to do a burnout on it.
Yeah.
I guess brake torque is not a thing. People don't know what a brake torque is. Everyone laughed at me on TikTok.
I'm quite sure that this was intentionally done vandalism, specifically as a political
maybe not
response.
There's a lot more skid marks on it now. Have you been by it recently?
No.
Yeah, it's black all over.
I wouldn't dare show my face in that communist shithole.
Yeah, there's a lot more rubber on it now. Oh, Biddle.
You know what inspired this one?
Chris Diddle.
Well, do you know what's inspired this one? The Fred Bowering. Fred Bowering made a post about how he was collecting needles.
He quit, eh?
Well,
he said he'd give it up. No, he's not doing it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's quit for as long as he can handle quitting until somebody has to do something. So he's quit once before.
Oh, yeah.
And the point of this artwork was to just articulate how at Biddle's own community office, there are needles left around on the stoop there. And he's just going to, just take a big step over. He's going to step over the human detritus and needles in order to go about being a glad-handing politician. Yeah. I remember. There we go. Now you're making an appearance here.
Wow, I put some weight on too. I never wore a flip-flop in my life.
Yeah.
MPP. Was that specific to the music we were playing that day? Why you know me?
That's.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I had only, at the time I drew this artwork, only heard the beginning of the story of what was taking place at the beaches. This was like the first weekend. I didn't actually see any of your material at the time.
Okay.
And I just simply saw that you had been, you or someone was chased out of the beach for playing some music. And so then this is how I artistically represented it. Remember in the comments, though, scroll up when you ask, that better not be me. And then I change it up for a bit for you. So let's just give him this one too. There's you, buddy. There's you. If it was you, that's what would have been bigger balls too.
Yeah, everyone, can you share this version of me, man? I like it so much
just
better.
The one to share.
I think it's closer to reality than this one. Oh my god!
My goodness. Somewhere in between.
Well, of course, the coloring.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man! Whose kid does it? I'm going to take this over to my 5-year-old friend.
Please
She'll
do.
Love
Somebody
it.
should definitely color this one.
I need.
My idea with the proportions of the body was to average you with the average Canadian at the beach in my mind, and so because it's not just you. It actually isn't you being chased off the beach with the speakers. It's really anyone. Mm-hmm. It's them being like masked up control freaks and you representing the guy just trying to have fun. Mm-hmm. The guy just trying to unload, relax, enjoy his day.
I do like the second version much better. Thank you. I think I'll use that as
Well,
a
you know,
Twitter
you are my
profile
friend,
picture.
so you get advantages.
Oh, sugar. I clicked the wrong. Okay, here we go. Oh shit, we gotta roll, man. Yeah, we've been at this an hour already.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go. So
Pride
Pride
Cop.
Cop 2.
Yep.
The joke here is, of course, that the chief of police is like bursting in. We need a suspect right away. This is a top priority. What's it say? I got the mayor up my ass. Social media is a feeding frenzy. And then you have a whole bunch of them like Build Back Better, and you got a little tiny Carrie Porter down there being like, this just proves why the pride crosswalk's necessary. Stuff like that. Next. Check it out, WTFN2. This is one of the first ones I did.
This is kind of hot.
Well, you know. I like how I didn't represent her in any like submissive way, because that'd be like, oh my god, how dare you. No, she's the dominant one. She likes being the dominant one. You're a cheeky bastard. And what is the quotes there, the lines?
Is it spanking time again, Laura?
You're
so
so Jim.
bad, Jim.
Oh god,
Whack.
this is awful. Yeah, I did this one of the first ones I did.
The note on the desk.
Why I hate Jim Fannon.
Yeah, and why you should too.
Yeah.
You
So
can't see the caption.
haven't heard from Laura Ip in a long time. So
No.
after the
Laura
Pi Day
promptly.
#Pi Day meltdown, look it up on Twitter. After the Pi Day meltdown, Laura Ip, an elected member of regional council, went private with her Twitter account and has been operating in a private Twitter account ever since. If anyone knows you and knows the story, they know that there's a strange hate obsession that they have with you, and I was psychoanalyzing it jokingly that actually it has to do with repressed sexual domination feelings. He says at the bottom there, Laura promptly fired her hypnotherapist.
Her new hypnotherapist.
Her new hypnotherapist, because this is not what she wants to be thinking. It's like, oh, why do I hate Jim? I just want to spank him so bad.
Well, oh, man, I really...
Puerile. This is puerile humor, Jim.
Josh Denny said to me yesterday that people that don't know him don't hate him. They hate what he represents in their life. So when he looks at someone and he has hateful feelings or a strong negative feelings towards someone, he tries to look at, well, like, what's going on with me here?
Wow. That's insightful.
Yeah.
That's insightful.
I don't expect that to spread around too much, because like people are not good at taking personal responsibility. I'm not the guy that shows up late and says, "Oh, this and that reason, oh, the traffic and this and that." First of all, I try never to be late. I'm always early. Like today, like people are surprised when you get a message.
That's right.
I'm running a bit early.
You're pulling me out of my house early.
Like I'll sit and wait until the scheduled time, but I'm there 10 minutes at least early, right?
There you go.
Like my word is pretty important, but personal responsibility is not something that these guys look at. Like I've got a buddy of mine that told me,
That's right. I have artwork about that. About
the integrity.
that.
These poor people are spending so much energy defending themselves. Because what? Because the Douglas thing, that whole like,
Right. That's the Pi Day
it's
meltdown.
really unfortunate. Yeah, and I don't know that. I mean, we've discussed that before.
I have artwork about it, so I have a Pi Day artwork we'll get to.
Anyways, I thought this was great.
Yeah, well, this was one of the first ones I did, and I took a couple weeks not to post it because I wasn't sure if it was until I figured out the line at the bottom. So I didn't have a line at the bottom at first. It was just the artwork, and it seemed a little bit too like, well, I'm not in her head. I don't really know what she's thinking. But then I made it into a joke, like the hypnotherapist put it in her head. So it's like, okay, it's a joke. It's probably in a folder marked Sandor on her computer under the harassments that Laura Ip has received from us for criticizing an elected member of the regional government who's pro-mask, pro-lockdown, and very smug and arrogant towards those who try to criticize those positions. Trust the science.
I'm looking pretty good there, and I don't mind being the guy that's, the subject of being dominated in a cartoon anyway.
In the cartoon, right?
In
Okay.
real life, that shit just does
Right.
not go down.
And so here we have that's me in the middle, and I've touched upon a lot of the stuff we talked about. These are a lot of the characters that we've been dealing with. You got my wife on the left. You've got the chief of police on the right. You've got Laura Ip over there in the corner. You've got LaFleche huddling with his newspaper and needle. You've got Hergy saying mix and match. You've got Carrie Porter saying wear a mask. On the other side, you've got Bilsma saying get your vitamins. You got Cullen saying do your research but holding a magnet. You got Alicia there cutting up a Section 22 in Hergy's face. And you got my friend there in the far corner. That's my friend who was not really interested in the drama, so he kind of pieced out. So I'm like, it's not like stuck in the middle, but it's kind of like I feel kind of alienated, or like I don't like, where do I fit in this whole thing? How do I fit into this whole thing? So this is just an artwork being like, WTF. This was me reflecting on myself. Maybe it was just like you were just suggesting. How do these people psychologically figure in my own projections of my feelings of myself? Just a piece of art. It seemed to resonate with people because they know what's going on, and they also feel centered out and isolated. I mean, we are in the era of systemic isolation. So even from my own friends and allies and accomplices, I feel alienated and isolated. And even from my own family, look at the look on my wife's face there and the baby, like, hey, they need me too. And I'm drawing. For the last 2 months, I drew. I stopped now. I put my tablet away. I was obsessively drawing. We're talking like 8 to 10 hours a day. I was cranking it out. I'm highly motivated. And the previous efforts I had been through, which we talked about in this episode, weren't giving me the satisfaction or any results. So I was getting into art. And so that was what was taking place at the time. Simplicity. I mean, what do you see here, Jim?
Boomerang.
Yeah, kind of that boomerang effect of. What kind of person is throwing the pendulum? A green-haired, yeah,
angry.
And what kind of person is she throwing it at?
Just a very calm dude, businessman.
So you could say maybe like a feminist hurtling a pendulum at a conservative. All he has to do is be like, and then all the bullshit that they throw hits themselves, because they throw out a lot of negative energy, and then a lot of us try to interfere in that, and maybe it's best to just kind of take a step back sometimes.
Yeah, well, Josh Denny and I talked about this yesterday. My haters are my best salespeople.
Right.
I make a joke, I call someone an unfriendly thing, I mock them, which was actually based in something I strongly believe in, like not killing babies after 6 months in the womb. And that video blew up. I mean, it's got over 3,000 views on BitChute, I think.
Okay.
I never did transfer it over to YouTube or to the podcast for whatever
You're talking
reason.
about the scandalized video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they sold that thing for me.
Right.
People say to me, Jimmy, don't let the message get lost in your foul language. And they do have a point. I understand the point.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, in this case, my foul language was the reason that anyone was talking about what I said.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she was a hypocrite and an atheist and targeting Christians by tweeting Jesus fucking Christ all the time, which that doesn't even offend me as a Christian. It makes my skin crawl. I've got a bad relationship with the Lord's name in vain. I just don't like it.
Yes.
And it's not really got anything to do with my faith. I think it's disrespectful. That kind of turns me off. But
it's actually the hypocrisy you're really more disturbed about than any of the particulars.
So I do a comedy bit, and they turn it into hate and then propagate it through the media. And it's,
loathsomely.
I took a lot of hate mail for it, but I mean, and I'm more prominent now than I've ever been, just because I called somebody a name and they took offense to it. So
and because you didn't disappear.
If you're in my shoes, or if roles are reversed, I'd like the cool thing would have been to say, Fannon, whatever, he says stuff. I'm not giving any more.
Right. They should have
fire
done
to-
the whole
yes,
back
and then
up.
it goes away.
Right.
But if you want to use it for political ammunition to silence or to fundraise,
Right.
you notice she was also saying, oh, I don't know if I could ever run again. Dude, I did you the biggest favor by solidifying your group.
Sure.
Everyone came together.
Sure,
I
sure,
did you
sure.
a huge favor for
Yeah.
your campaign. Like, that's
Well,
give the guy some credit, would you? Man, it was the best thing that ever happened to you. Me doing an off the cuff, rude
Right.
remark, but then it was Carrie Porter that found it, supposedly brought it to Laura Yep, played it for her
Months
and
later.
then went to the media.
and then
then
drudged it up again and again.
Normally, the way Laura likes to come off is, no, I'm taking the high road on this. I don't care what that
That's
guy
right.
says.
That week
But
that
as soon
she
as Bill Sawchuk or Grant
That's
LaFleche,
right.
your boyfriend, calls, then it's like, well, forget the high road. I'm getting down with this. I'm going to make this into the most. How much sympathy can I generate out of this? Is
Right.
What she used it for.
Yeah, and she did that in April while she was calling all the protesters racist. She took some sort of victory lap over you because she tried to get Jim Diodati not to come on your show, and so she we're talking about Carrie Porter, drudged all that back up. It got all drudged back up into the media, and that's what I said earlier in this episode of the show. They only used half your quote.
To the point where Bob Cowan's asking Jim, how come you're going on this Jim Fannon show? I mean, he was made incendiary comments before and accused of misogyny and blah, blah, blah. And, props to Jim. He came on the show,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
also white-knighted a little bit about when he was on with CHCH. He said, I like to shine some light in the dark corners.
Oh,
like
okay,
I'm the
well,
dark corner. Like, come
welcome
on,
to the
Jimmy.
dark
Like,
corners.
I took him to I told him that when we were live.
Yeah,
I said,
no, exactly.
Don't white-knight me too much there, bro. Or on my behalf.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Now we're getting into Canada today. We talked about this a
classic.
little bit earlier. After the discovery of what they say is 215 probably children from residential schools in a grave in Kamloops, there was a strong...
It's not a grave. It's not a mass grave, and they didn't discover anything, but go on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said supposedly, I guess. Which isn't to downplay the impact of genocide or anything like that. We're just talking about the specific details of the specific story. Anyway, that specific story was spun all the way up into total shame-making against really the nation itself. And it was a pre-Canada Day demoralization campaign brought to you by what we call leftists.
Why do you think they engage in this? What is the end result that they get out of this? The spinning of the narrative.
Why do communists demoralize?
But come on, they're not true blue communists, even though they might have some commie tendencies. Like most people are freedom-loving people. Like,
Yeah,
what do you think
Yeah.
the end game is? Or is it just a bitter, viciousness?
Well, I mean, we're talking about a composite of ideologies, which includes what we call wokeism, which is sort of like the modern front face of socialism. And then there's also just postmodernism, which is it's a different philosophical construct, but fits in simpatico with wokeism very well. So an individual may have an opinion, and they never got to the point of realizing that they're actually dirty socialists, or they'll equivocate for the term socialism. Oh yeah, free healthcare. Oh yeah, this and that. So I mean, in Greg Miller's case, I don't really know. I don't really have any problem with Greg Miller, except that he wanted to cancel Canada Day and use the tokenism of the Indigenous residential school issue as a way to dunk on Canada. And you look at his Twitter, he's never really celebrated Canada Day. He's not a big Canada Day guy. And so the joke here is that Miller was confident that his proposal would be approved by City Council. So he takes a big orange shit on the Canadian flag, and he's confident that City Council will approve that proposal. And indeed they did. And so it's not just a swipe at Miller. It's not really a swipe at Miller at all. He's just the guy who happened to go out front and say the stuff. It's a swipe at City Council and their entire political paradigm. Like, yeah, I guess we're just going to shit our own country. And so I have 4 artworks here. We'll jump through them on the Greg Miller story. So Greg Miller was the guy who made the motion at City Council to get the Pride crosswalk built at Mate Cafe in St. Catharines, the
Okay.
one that was vandalized.
Mhm.
So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if there was a Canadian flag crosswalk that got vandalized and put Greg Miller in the driver's seat there just to turn it around on them, because he and they are very upset that someone did a burnout on the Pride crosswalk while he's metaphorically doing a burnout on the Canadian flag. And I kind of like that. I love the look on his face. Look at that helmet. Well, that helmet is priceless. I did a couple too many. See, I thought the first one was a little puerile, him taking a shit on the flag. That's like really base level crappy humor kind of.
Yeah.
So I wanted to demonstrate that my satire skills are higher than just, oh, he took a shit. So I did this one, and then I did two others in the political cartoon vein. Right?
Broken
And this
wheel.
one I really like, because this is about political satire. It's not necessarily dunking on you, Greg. I'm dunking on the idea that you're going to strap yourself to a CRT rocket, critical race theory. This is a huge topic these days. CRT, critical race theory. Really drop the R. It's critical theory that wokeism and so on and so forth. Basically, what's the masking tape there called? Virtue signals. So he's strapped himself with virtue signals. He's got a incendiary match, which is Twitter, and he's just launching. He's just gonna launch on Canada Day. Those are his Canada Day celebrations. Yeah,
Greg Miller put on a rather memorable fireworks display for Canada Day.
That's right, and we do remember. And then there's one more, and this one I love the artwork. The plumber here, he says, "Oh, my kids also flush important things down the toilet," and then Greg Miller pops in and he's like, "Oh no, that was me." And so the idea, of course, is, Canada has a history, it has problems, but to destroy the very symbol that unifies us. And again, as I said earlier, this was the same symbol that we as protesters in the freedom movement were waving around. And then by the end of those months, they were trying to flush that symbol down the toilet and offer us nothing except shame in return.
This constant attack on patriotism. I heard Tim Dennis on 610 a couple of years ago talk about use patriot and patriotism is a derogatory term.
Right.
When did that happen? When is it not?
Well,
cool
I
to
mean,
love your country?
how does he use American as a derogatory term too?
I'm not sure.
Certainly, he's probably in the American context. I mean, patriot and patriarchy are linked words, but they're not necessarily the same. And so, in our what's this? More water? Yeah, thanks. It's fresh. In our highly socialized by the feminist ideology, really anything that's paternal is targeted for undermining. So I don't think that Tim Dennis is necessarily a radical feminist, but we are 45 years into Canada being comfortably what they call liberal, feminist, which isn't a slight against equality at all. It's
it's against the left-wing narrative and the Marxist bullshit and the indoctrination of
That's
our
right.
children, and to just this all goes back to the kids. And I gotta say, I know I've made this point to you before, but so much of what I do today is after meeting your son. I mean, he's a beautiful boy, and you made the point, like, this kid's not going to see a human expression, which I knew this already, but the first thing a human does is register with a human expression.
right.
No,
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's such
neurologically based.
yeah, and after we did our first show and I walked out, and met your son, I was moved beyond. This is important to me because it's the kids.
That's right.
And this is what I feel like these radical lefties want to bring in drag queen story time. I got no problem with who you love. or how you have sex, I don't think you should lead with it. I don't lead with, I'm a cisgender or whatever. I'm a heterosexual. I don't. Yeah, hi, I'm Jim Fannon. I'm heterosexual. Or,
My
hi,
pronouns
how
are he, him.
Yeah.
In case you couldn't
Hi,
tell.
I'm Jim Fannon. I like anal. Well, who fucking cares? We don't care who you love and how you have sex. Like, it's
Typically.
ridiculous. And anyways, I'm rambling. Oh no, but these. This is what we're fighting against. Are these narratives? I don't want you talking about sex to my kids. They don't care about sex.
Right.
Let's not, introduce it to them until they're ready. Like,
Imagine
it
that.
drives me nuts. But anyways, my point is that so much of what this, my voice or whatever I'm doing right now is because of, that day. It registered on me, man. And I love that kid. He's a beautiful boy. Here we go again.
So we got black and white versions because there it is. Just jump through them.
Okay.
This is the Pride Cop 3. This is the final episode of the Pride Cop series.
Okay.
Because in the previous episode, we introduced the character, they, them. It's actually kind of funny. What's it say on the left there? Can you do a movie trailer voice while you say it?
He's a cisgendered, closeted, bisexual white male who's cheating on his wife.
And what about her?
They is a gender fluid mixed race social justice warrior with a badge attitude.
And look at where they have their flags. So here, there's a little subtle thing in this too. He's got the old pride flag.
Be better.
She's got the new pride flag. And in my mind, I never explored this, but in my mind, these characters almost kind of represent the old left of equality versus the new left of equity. And that's what those two flags represent to me.
Right.
Is that the old left is equality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally in favor.
No. And
That because of that flag on the right, the
Marxist Black Lives Matter.
right, the one that includes all these chevrons.
Mm-hmm.
The old pride flag, the old rainbow, is now a conservative symbol because as a more conservative-minded person, I would rather support and will support the original pride flag, which symbolically means all lives matter.
Yeah.
That's what that original flag means. It means
Genesis
the
1:26.
the whole spectrum. Now, for the last 30, 40 years, Christian conservatives have said it's sacrilegious to use that rainbow because it's a symbol of how God will not punish people,
He's
so on
not
and so
gonna
forth.
flood
That's not a
earth
point I
again.
ever make. I'm not that interested in that. I'm willing to accept the rainbow as a transcendental symbol, meaning all colors of people, all types of people. It's equality. What's the difference between equality and equity?
Equity is making sure it's equal outcome, not equal
Outcome, that's right.
opportunity. Yeah.
That's right.
We
So
want equal opportunity. What you do with it's up to you. A meritocracy, the best rise to the top. The hardest
right.
working, you don't get anything free.
whereas in equity,
This idea, somebody said the other day that we are, I think it's Glenn Beck, he said this years ago, that we are creating a whole generation of serfs with the millennials.
right? Yeah. Well, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And then so this is the cover artwork for Pride Cop 3, which is the next comic. And it has I thought what's the most likely culprit for a motorcycle burnout on the pride flag. So I had my cop duo roll into a motorcycle club, and so that's what this is.
All right.
That's what this is. They roll into the motorcycle club. She pulls out her taser. They pull out their taser, and demand answers. The motorcycle club guys say, "This is our safe space," and then they laugh in her face, and then they have a little presentation there. This is true, by the way. There were vandalisms in June of pride crosswalks all across Ontario. So I have 4 listed here, like Aurelia or whatever. I'm not sure what, but like small towns. All had their pride crosswalk. So I fictionalized that by pretending that they noticed it as the investigators, and they consider it to be coordinated attacks, probably on 4chan, of white supremacy. Just taking it to that absurd level. And then that last panel We're back outside of Mate. They've just repainted, and they're installing security cameras to keep it safe. And there you go. So that's the end of the story of the pride flag. Dark. Took a long time to do that.
Another
artwork.
narrative that was badly twisted by the mayor and the media. Like
That's
this
right.
was done intentionally to disrespect all members of marginalized communities at all
Right.
levels by
He
some
went on
hateful
TV.
white supremacists.
Yeah.
And now we're going to find you.
That's why we
and
make
you're
fun
gonna
of
be
you
held to
guys.
justice because someone did a burnout in the street.
There's this weird thing where they think, some people think that we make fun of the core issue. No, we're not making fun of gay people. We're making fun of politicians who use gay people as tokens for unearned moral virtue.
Exactly. Well said.
So the
Oh,
Grant LaFish.
is this episode 1?
Episode 1.
Wow.
Grant LaFish
This
finds
is-
the let's put his head on a stick, and this is my second time in artwork representing Dr. Hergy with his head on a stick. They're a little fish Hergy, Dr. Fishy Hergy. And there's my fish Alicia. In Grant's imagination has just decapitated Hergy. Grant LaFish's imagination. And this is a great series. I was so happy to get into this. I have 6 of them, and that took a couple weeks to get through. And this is another one of the posts that was flagged as bullying and harassment.
Really?
Really?
And then reinstated or no?
Sorry, no. No, the episode 2 and episode 3 were.
Okay.
This one he didn't touch, or was not touched by the flaggers.
Right.
So let's just jump through and see what else we got. There you go, episode 2. Funny story. LaFleche did he got himself all dressed up. He's like, I'm ready for the award show. And then later that night, he's like, congratulations to the winner. And I thought that was hilarious. He's sitting at home on Zoom, dressed up in his little cowboy hat, and waiting to be announced the winner of something. And everyone else's name is mentioned. And so I have here other writers. I made fish versions of their names, including Sam and Rushdie, which I think is, come on. Sam and Rushdie. And next, there you go. So, yeah, he lost that time. I mean, Grant LaFleche is Niagara's best journalist. He is an award-winning journalist, and he lost this year.
Grant LaFish in No Love Lost.
Oh, man. So I'll get into the character a little bit more. So here, Grant LaFish is he's talking to a bunch of he's having a speed dating. So this is a speed dating episode, and I try to get into the headspace a little bit. And my favorite joke in this one is the starfish saying, "Oh, after 6 months of Biden, Trump isn't so bad, eh?" And he just bashes his head on the ground, and then we meet here a clam. Just can you read what the clam says?
I hate it here. I've prepared some notes. Okay, so I'm an emotionally unavailable clam, soon to be divorced, soon to be single mother. That does not mean I am easy, and don't make any pearl necklace jokes. I run a boxing club, and I'm a regional counselor. I'm attracted to your You had me at I hate.
Yeah, so
The fish gets his clam.
the fish got his clam, and I think we all know who we're talking about here, given that description. And so, in case it's not entirely explicit, I think everyone knows that at some point, LaFish
LaFish. No, he should be now referred to as LaFish.
LaFish and
Lip.
Lippy
LaFish and Lip.
had a relationship, and so I just wanted to
They
touch
still
upon
have a relationship. Don't be.
they're still bumping uglies?
I don't know about that, but I mean, they're still very tight.
Well, they are ideological accomplices, that's for sure. And that's something I've observed over the years, over the months with them. And I've screenshots of them going back 10 years and 15 or 12 years to the beginning of their friendship. And then a lot of people say that they bump ugly. So I thought I'd point that out and just use it as an opportunity to skewer them both. Whatever. So Niagara Public Health has announced that they are going to redouble their efforts to reaching the youth. And so they actually said that they wanted to access youth influencers. And I look around, really, who's the youth influencers in Niagara? Well, do it yourself. So we've got a series of, how do you do, fellow kids? Yo Gabba Gabba, which I watch with my baby. And that last panel, yeah, open it up in the comments. That one. Oh, man. I mean, that is... Ooh, lordy. Ooh, lordy. Yeah.
Shades of, what's the artist?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, there was an artist.
Little Nas
Lola.
X.
Yeah,
it's specifically a scene from Little Nas X's music video. And the joke here is that Dr. Hergy would do this if it meant influencing that age bracket. So it's just strictly he's now a vaccine salesperson, and he'll put himself in any position at all to get the youth vaccinated. Let's continue forward. I love this artwork. This took a while. And this is when I was like, I got it. Oh, there you go. We'll continue. So there you go. The Pi Day Meltdown artistically represented. This is Laura Ip baking pie. So on March 14th, 2021, Douglas sent her a message. She didn't like the message, and she had a meltdown online, and then continues.
Outed him publicly.
And outed him publicly and all that stuff. But the point of this one is that she always often, if not always, projects her own mistake onto the other person.
Narcissistic personality.
So
trait.
she made pies. Douglas ruined her pie day, and she went
saying you better watch your mouth or something, or you got a mouth on you.
You got a mouth on you. We are watching.
And you put a picture of kids.
Yeah, I mean,
she immediately went public with it and said,
people.
I'm being harassed.
Right. I mean,
I'm a victim. This is unacceptable.
And then months later,
of a female
believes the same. So this was just.
And then her boyfriend runs multiple stories about it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did he?
No, but they do have that relationship, which raises eyebrows. Let's continue.
Yummy. Pie Day. 314, baby. Oh, this is classic.
Yeah.
Dr. Tam.
Dr.
In the
Tam
glory
in the
hole.
glory hole. That is just disturbing. I mean, we're kind of exiting exiting the domain of the funny and into the domain of the dark and
gross.
This is like kind of anti-propaganda where I'll visually represent something that encapsulates a variety of purposes. So the idea of the glory hole, that was funny and absurd. But this is also the child abuse. This is also the accusations of her actually being a man. This is also there's a lot of stuff going on here. And by the way, those kids represent all kids. They don't just represent boys. They don't just represent white kids. Those represent to me all kids. Although we might ask. I mean, I'm a father of a kid who looks kind of like that. So, So the world we're building for them is, in my view, systemic abuse. Next. So here's my swipe at Trump. Daddy Vaccine, Donald J. Trump, Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah.
If anyone who is concerned about vaccines is still a Trump supporter, I understand not being a Biden supporter, but look, find someone else in America to be your leader, please.
Yeah, really.
Love you, Donald. Next.
Not Kamala Harris.
Here, what's the quote say?
Cause of death? One against the chief medical officer. He's hanging, of course. It's a Ford reference.
That's right. Doug Ford said that nobody will go against their chief medical officer. They might as well tie a rope around their neck and jump off a bridge. And my question to you, Doug, is cotton or nylon? Go right ahead.
The Vax van.
The Vax van circling around your neighborhood for the foreseeable future.
Ford's driving the bus. Hirji's serving the ice cream. Oh, no. Oh, LaFish is on the back end of it with the ice cream. He's the press, and Hirji's serving up the shot.
That's
out
right.
The window.
And they've run over small businesses, children, and freedom?
Freedom, children, and small business.
Yeah, there we go. And it just continues. Then we got the last 3 episodes of LaFish. We don't have to go through them. I invite the viewers to take a look. This one's a great satire of our entire situation because in my LaFish world, the vaccine is a hook. Get the hook. which is funny because it's fish. And so
Fistula?
fistula. You know what a fistula is?
No.
A fistula is a hole between two organs in the body. So, for example, after too much anal sex, some women will experience a fistula between their anus and their vagina.
Oh
You didn't know about that?
Oh, man. Why are you making it about women?
It's not. No, I said in the definition, it's between two organs. So you can have a fistula between your kidney and your other thing. Like a fistula is a hole in the body between two organs.
Okay, I don't.
And it's probably an infected hole.
I don't even. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I wish I didn't know that. Now.
Well, you're the one who asked. You're the one who asked. You should have Googled it first.
I just
yeah.
thought it was a great name. I didn't know it had a meaning.
Yeah, it has a meaning, all right. You are fake news, La Fistula. This article is about. This is real, folks. Grant LaFleche, and here Grant LaFleche calling for the arrest of protesters. The media called for our arrest, and they got it. Mm-hmm. So, fuck you. Next.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and of course Grant's a big boxer. Mm-hmm. So I made sure to skewer him in the boxing ring. And then
how are you doing?
And then here I got to
I'm so glad to see you. Yeah.
I got to sort of satirize the people who hate him by putting them as characters. Like, oh, as a public-facing figure, I get a lot of undeserved hate.
I'd love to see your
And look at it. Jim Fannon was right.
Where?
You don't know that part of this one? Look at the bottom left.
See
Jim Fannon was right. How offensive. And here's an extra joke. So she says...
Oh, the lobster says Jim Fannon is right. Is that a Jordan Peterson reference?
That's also a Jordan Peterson reference. Because I'm that dense of the references. So no, hold on. So we've got here... I'd love to show you my inbox. Oh, I'd love to see your inbox. Which turns back into their banging joke. But the joke is actually much deeper. The joke is she leaks regional council stuff to him. And that was the post which I made. I said, psst, I know who your leaker is. And I posted a screenshot of her admitting it in a Grant LaFleche story. And that story was flagged and my account was deleted. So this isn't just a sex joke. This is literally, she does leak her email to him. Gosh, I'm giving away all the secrets here. All the behind the scenes why I did it. And then there it is, episode 6 of 6. Simple as pie. The hook is safe and effective. And you'll see how it floats full circle, wraps it back around to the fish wrap issue. So it was a prequel the whole time. And there we go. And this is the latest and greatest. And I think this is a great way for us to end the episode. I am not necessarily anti-vaccine. I'm anti-coercion. You could be handing me a glass of water, and if you say to me, if you don't drink this water, consequence, fuck your water.
Mm-hmm. Just like you said to me, I'm not anti-mask. I just choose not to wear one.
Right?
I'm not anti-vax. Do whatever you want. I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a deeper moral argument to be had there. Sure. If they are harmful, if a mask is harmful, and if a vaccine is harmful, then a simple, it's your choice, isn't a complete moral argument, but it's sufficient to have a policy which allows choice, because no one can impose one way or the other. And here we have a pregnant woman who has been gagged, tied up. And so what do those symbols represent? So we got the
fines, jail, censorship, lockdown.
That's right. That is what we have endured. So exactly, do you actually expect me to get a vaccine after what you've done to us? We can't even so much as speak up against simple issues. So I'm against coercion. Lockdowns are vaccine coercion. Masks are vaccine coercion. Test and trace regimes are vaccine coercion. Am I going to get you blocked from Facebook? And vaccine passports. The top issue of our day, this is the moment we're in, people. Vaccine passports are coercion. And so here I have the guy from Saw. And the whole joke for me here is, like, after all of the things we've been through, no wonder we don't trust. So I don't even care what the ingredients are. Like I said, it could be water. I mean, I was in a position last year where even if there was a virus flying around that would hurt people, I choose freedom. I choose fundamental freedom. I do not choose tyranny, because anyone who chooses safety over liberty gets neither and deserves neither. That's a quote. I didn't come up with that, as you know. So there we go. That is WTFN2. That's the life and times of Sandor Ligetfalvy as told to Jim Fannon.
What's the facts, Niagara?
Which is grammatically incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Really, it means what the fuck. Honestly, what the fuck. Yeah. Follow me on Twitter, WTF Niagara.
Links are in the show description
Links
below.
are in the description. Click it, share it, like it. Tell our enemies that we talked about them. And have a nice day. I don't know. There's a lot more we could say, but I got to take a whiz. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good, but...
he called this a short episode.
Primo's in. We are, let's see, an hour 41 in.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Robbie, everything looks good on my end. I don't know if it's me freezing. I don't know. Maybe I am freezing a little bit.
I hope we had a good episode here.
My network looks like it's...
Have a good time, folks. Yeah. I really got to go.
Peace, love, hug your neighbor, and whatever you do,
I'm doing the pee wiggle.
Mask off your face. You can go. You're off camera now anyway. Nice job. Sandor, everyone. Like, comment, share. And if you hate it, tell us why. I should, maybe I'll put up, no, I was going to go out with Maddie McPherson's tune, but. Want some? You want some, don't you? All right, Matt McPherson is M Factor. It's spelled with a PH, a K, and some other shit. I can't remember. This is called Want Some. Man, I'm really enjoying this tune. And more's coming from Matt. We might even do a live show Saturday with all of his instrumental music. Maybe some of his rap. I didn't know this kid rapped. Sandor also raps. This is Want Some, M Factor. I'm out.
angry. them say yes.
Shut up. Just take it nice and easy, okay? Just relax.
Hey, you're cool.
Just don't.
Shut up.
Just don't.
Make them say yes. I am beyond angry.
Good night now.